So we were doing what we were doing last. We were looking at chapter 6, right? So Dhyana Yoga. So before that, let us pay obeisance to Sri Radha Govinda. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Nananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manabhishtam Stapitam Mena Bhotale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Pada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vittam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakana Vittam Sham He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dino Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhane Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Pancha Kalpatrabhyascha Kripa Sindhavevacha Patitam Nam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasha Deshatarine Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So welcome you all back. Let us start. So we were last we looked at verses from 1 to 30. We now let us look at chapter 6 verses 34 to 47. So what did we do? Just a short recap. We were talking about Dhyana Yoga, the Ashtanga Yoga, right? In the thing, and how the mind plays a big role in that. Okay, we were analyzing the role of mind in it. In fact, the essence of Dhyana Yoga is to control the mind and the senses, right? And then we looked at the sadhana practices in the Ashtanga sadhana. What are the things, right? We had Yama, Niyama, then pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, then samadhi, right? So I looked at that essentially what they think, trying to bring the mind under the control. Then how it was impractical for the Ashtanga for the modern age. That also we discussed because Arjuna himself was telling that, okay, what you say is true, but practically it is not. It's not easy to practice, okay? Because it is to keep quiet, to find a place to sit quietly for so long, and then to think when there are so many material distractions, and mind is not such chanchala. It's not that easy to bring into thing, right? So we looked at the impracticality, and then also we looked at Krishna consciousness is much easy, and certain principles of Ashtanga Yoga we can practice, we can follow in our Krishna consciousness, right? Okay, so those principles we can follow in a very comfortable way and convenient manner. That also we looked at, and how, and some comments Prabhupada was making in regard to the elevated position of the Bhagavad Gita. He said Bhakti Yoga. He said Ashtanga Yoga yogi will only look at himself, is the elevation of himself, because once he reaches the samadhi, he wants to be in that self-realization position, is on himself. Whereas devotees who are in the Krishna conscious, they want to bring in everybody into it. He not only looks at himself, but also the others. Whereas realized who had retired to the Ashtanga yogi would have retired to a cave, and he would be only thinking of himself to realize, for self-realization. Whereas Bhakti Yoga position, he tries to share Krishna consciousness with others, and that way he is aligning himself more closely with the actual interest of the Lord. So that's what we looked at the thing. He says, go and preach. That was Prabhupada's comments we looked at. So if we have a short overview, 1 to 9, we looked at a Yoga Ruksha, Yoga Ruda practice, right? The first 5 would be the Yoga Ruksha, that is the preliminary thing for thing. And the other 2 is the advanced stage, right? When you reach the thing. Then looked at the stages in the yoga practice and the samadhi. Then realization of Krishna as super soul. That's what finally when the Ashtanga yogi, when he reaches the final stage of samadhi, he will be having self-realization, the super soul will be meditating on the super soul in his heart. Okay. Then it was rejected by Arjuna. We looked at that, how mind is very difficult to these are chanchala. But the Lord says, by abhyasa, you can do that. Abhyasa, it is difficult, but you can do. Then Arjuna, then Arjuna has got another term. Suppose, yes, done it and is progressing, but somehow or other he would be unsuccessful. Then what happens? That we are going to look at it today. Okay. And then the topmost yogi, what the Krishna is taught. So we'll be looking on these two today, right? Krishna, Arjuna is taught. What is the destination of the unsuccessful transcendentalist who in the beginning takes to the process of self-realization with faith, but who later desists due to worldly mindedness and thus does not attain perfection in mysticism. So he says now he has started practicing the Ashtanga Yoga and he has done it and he has progressed. But some reason or the other, some obstacle, something has happened on the way and he has come out of it. He has deviated. So what happens to them? I mean, it's all waste. Like, does it, like in the material world, what happens? When you start constructing a house, unless it's completed, then it is not useful. Even if it is halfway and all that, the house would be useless. Or if you take enrolled in a university, say, you would have progressed to for third year and think unless you complete the exams and get the degree, then only that thing is complete. But here, what happens? So he is worried. What happens to a person who has not achieved it? Okay. He compares it to as a cloud, as a river. Oh, there's not such a man who is bewildered from the path of transcendence, fall away from both spiritual and material success, and perish like a riven cloud with no position in any sphere. See, yes, come away from the material world because he wants to progress in the spiritual life. And then there he has obstructed and he has fallen off. So here he is neither at any because he has come away from the material entanglement, he has not progressed there, and he has come away and he has not progressed. So he's nowhere. So what happens to him? Like a riven cloud, which is part away, has come away from the bigger cloud, and it is so small, it can be blown away by the wind. And it is so small that it cannot give a shade, nor it can become laden with water and become heavy and start pouring rain because it's too small, right? So then it is useless, isn't it? When it is hiding things. So he is comparing to a riven cloud for the position of the thing. So Arjuna wants to know what happens to such a yogi, what happens to him. Okay. So it will come to us also. See, we are trying and it's a path is very difficult and we have so much of distractions and things and it is too high risky. So is it worthwhile to embark on this path or not? That becomes a question to anybody. And many people will think, have I progressed? And now because he doesn't feel that he has progressed well, because he always feels that he has not done much. So that also comes to the mind, right? So that is the question which Arjuna is asking. And it's also a question in all our minds also. Okay. So the Lord says, Purva Abhyasena Tainaiva Irhyate He Avacho Apiso Jignasur Api Yogase. By virtue of the divine consciousness of his previous life, he automatically becomes attracted to the yogic principles even without seeking them. So what does he say? That means previous life, Purva Abhyasa. See, that's also is told in chapter 2, no? That whatever endeavor we make in this path is never lost. There's no loss, no diminution, because it will be carried over to the next birth. And we'll be starting from that level. If you have done 5% progress, then you in the next birth, you will be starting from that 5% level. It's like a person who's gone, he's embarked on a journey. And then on the way, he takes a rest in a hotel, say, he sleeps. So when he gets up, he will start his journey from that point onwards. He won't go back, isn't it? Same here, Krishna is telling that whatever we have done in our previous life, whatever we think, assets we have, the spiritual path, transmissions, it will be there with us. It is there. Purva Abhyasa will be there with us, and we won't lose that. Because of that, we will get attracted to automatically we'll get attracted to the yogic principles. Or some will say, did we have anything in the past? We might only have now. Even then, like now, suppose when you say previous habits and thought process, today, if you look, you would have started attending Mangalati, say, and then in the beginning, it would have been very difficult to get up early in the morning and then take bath and then, setting the alarm. But after few months, what happens? It becomes a habit, right? You won't consciously think. You'll get up and try to attend. There's no conscious effort put in because it has become a habit. Or like chanting, if you take. In the beginning, you would have found chanting one round must be very tough. Or how do I complete 108 times of chant? Then slowly, slowly it becomes a thing, and your mind doesn't tell you, oh, it's so difficult. Why you want to sit and chant? After some time, the mind will stop telling you. You just do it. Like that. And whatever we have done this, it will be there in us, with us, even once you leave this body. All these habits, all this process, whatever we have practices we have done, sadhana in this path, it will be carried over into the next. So what happens then? How do you also attracted to that? Because of our purva abhyas. That's what the Lord says. Because of the virtue of the divine, and this is like a divine consciousness. Because in chapter 16, he says, Arjuna, you had these qualities in you. You were born with these qualities. How he was born? He had all these previous births and things. He has cultivated those qualities. So because of that, it has become as a divine sampada. The Daiva sampad. So this is what the Lord says, because he's attracted to the yogic principles. Okay, just read the purport. It's nice to read. That's why I just put. Advanced yogis are not very much attracted to rituals of scriptures, but they automatically become attracted to the yogic principles, which can elevate them to complete Krishna consciousness. So it says even in Bhagavatam that who chant the holy names of a Lordship are far, far advanced in spiritual life, even if born in families of dog eaters. Such chanters have undoubtedly performed all kinds of austerities and sacrifices, bathed in all things and finished. So this example is given here. Prabhupada gives the example of Thakur Haridas Thakur. He happened to take his birth in a Muslim family. But he was elevated to post of Namacharya by Lord Chaitanya, because he was chanting 300,000 holy names of the day. How did he take up to that? How did he get that taste? So he says, here it is understood that in his previous life, he must have passed through all the ritualist methods of Vedas, known as Shabda Brahma. Unless, therefore, one is purified, he cannot take to a principle of Krishna consciousness or become engaged in this birth. So there must be something purva. And even if you continue to practice, this will add on to that. So whatever we have done, it gets added on. So the Lord says, it is not lost. It is there. And also about the jignasa. So Jignasru is one who is trying to ask, inquisitive. We might have only started in this birth thinking about who am I, what is the thing. You might have taken the first step in this birth, say. So some people would have just started Jignasu on this. But that thought process itself will continue in his thing even in the next birth. So he will do. In fact, Sanatana Goswami was asking Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This same, he started off with this question, who am I? What is my purpose? And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained to him something, and then a lot of scriptures have come out from Santana Goswami saying that how Bhakti has to be performed. What is the weakness? And even Sutta Goswami also says in Srimad Bhagavatam, Nashta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavatam Sevya. That by regularly serving Krishna, it becomes an habituated activity. So that Nityam Bhagavatam Sevya. So when you start doing that, that becomes a benefits you get, it will be carried out. So that doesn't get stuck. So he says, what you might have, because of this, you'll be born in a aristocratic family or a pious family, or if it is advanced, then you'll be even born in a Vaishnava family or in the thing. So he says that birth will be there and you'll be continuing your process in the coming births. So there's no loss. Okay. Purva. So unless these regulated habitual activities, they are called Purva Abhyas, right? Then he continues to say, Vinashtasya vidyate nahi kalyana kat. A transgender is engaged in auspicious activities, does not meet with destruction either in this world or in the future. Actually, see, Arjuna is quite concerned, because somebody has taken him to this path, and what happens, and he has been struggling, and there's been a lot of impedance. A materialist person, a lot of obstacles are there in terms of enjoyment. He needs to control, and other things are there. So how does it? What happens? So, I mean, from the emotional point of view, the Lord understands. So he says, when you engage in auspicious activities, it doesn't die away. That is, it will be there with you. It's like an asset, okay? Either in this world or in the spiritual world. It doesn't die. So, and it is always there with you. And so there, Prabhupada talks about auspiciousness in the purport, There Narada Muni says, if someone gives up all material prospects and takes complete shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no loss or degradation anyway. But on the other hand, a non-devotee may fully engage in his occupational duties, but he will not gain because he is not doing any service to the Lord. For material prospect, there are many activities, both scriptural and custom. The transcendent is supposed to give up all material activities for the sake of spiritual advancement in life. So one may argue that Krishna consciousness, one may attain the highest perfection if it is completed. That's what we think now. If it's completed, then it is. But if one does not attain such a perfect stage, then he loses both materially and spiritually. Okay. So if it is enjoying scriptures, that one, because he has deviated, he has to suffer the reaction, right? Therefore, one fails to discharge transcendence, properly becomes subjected to this. So Bhagavatam assures that successful transcendence, that there need not be any worries. Even though he may be subjected to reaction for not perfectly executing prescribed duties, he is still not a loser. Because auspicious Krishna consciousness is never forgotten. And one so engaged will continue to be so even if he is low-born in the next life. On the other hand, who simply follows prescribed duties need not necessarily attain auspicious results if he is lacking Krishna. So here clearly it says that if he has, so there are two kinds. That is the path, one who follows the regulated procedures. One, there are two sections, the regulated and non-regulated. So who are the non-regulated one who don't follow the Vedic structure? They are the vikarmas. Vikarmas, right? So even vikarmas, no, they also have a opportunity to progress if they take to chanting of Hare Krishna. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says there is no restriction to chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, right? Anywhere you can chant, and then anybody can start doing it because the mantra is so powerful, it can purify them. So if Vikamis also takes to that, slowly he will come to the auspicious path because he gets purified, right? So there is always auspicious. There is nothing like you will end with destruction. So in this path, in spiritual path, there is always, it's an auspicious activity. So there will always be success. There won't be any failure. So that is what here Krishna and the Prabhupada also gives a detailed purport here. You can read. But only thing is I wanted to show, sorry, my mouse has clicked somewhere. So here, those who are following the path of auspicious can be divided into three sections. The followers of scripture rules and regulations who are enjoying material prosperity. These are the karma kandis, right? And those who are trying to find ultimate liberation from material existence. So they could be karma yogi, jnana yogi, ashtanga yogi. And those who are devotees in Krishna conscious bhakti yogi. So those who are following rules and regulations scriptures for material happiness may be further divided into two classes, those are fruitive workers and those who desire no fruit for that is karma kandas and karma yogis. Those who are after fruitive results may be elevated to higher standard life, even to higher planets. But still, because they are not free from material existence, they are not following the truly auspicious path. Okay, the only auspicious activities are those which are leading to liberation. So even since they have taken the part in it, those auspiciousness will never be lost.
How do you feel? I feel sad. Sad.
Please mute yourself.
Sad. How do you feel? I feel happy. Surprise. How do you feel? I feel surprised.
Okay, and because the Eightfold is directed towards the ultimate realization of Krishna consciousness, such practice is also auspicious, and no one is trying his best in this matter, need fear regression. So Krishna is very encouraging them, saying that there is no need to worry because these are all auspicious activities. Whether it is inauspicious is one way or the vikarmis, and they also have possibilities of coming out of it by if they take to chanting of Hare Krishna mantra and to Krishna Course. There is always an opportunity for them. But karma kandis are marginal because they have the material tent, because they want to enjoy the fruitive activities. So they are little bit, it's not completely inauspicious. Okay, because they are following the regulative principles of Vedic principles. Whereas karma yogi, jnana yogi, ashtanga, they all are, what is their goal? They want liberation. They want to self-realization. So that way, there are auspicious activities. So there's no loss in it. And it will never destroy, never be destroyed. Okay. That's what the Krishna is saying, is never think. So there will always be there and it will be added as an asset. So it will continue to progress and it can find in many, even in real life or in ISKCON, many people who came, some immediately took up very advanced paths because of their previous births. Some were very slow, some were very this. So by the way they practiced and the thing there, it could make out from that. Okay. So the Prabhupada says those who are after fruitive results for sense gratification may be elevate to higher standard. That means they will go to higher planets. Okay, because of their punya credits, they will go to higher planets. But still, because they are not free from material existence, they are not following the truly auspicious. the only auspicious activities are those which lead one to liberation. Whereas the karma kandis, they'll be going to higher planets, then they come to lower planets, they'll be going around in that selfish wheel. So when you look at this yoga practice, ladder will come back. So we started from karma kanda, then we said karma yoga. I think they will be in the Brahman realization they can get. Whereas dhyana yogis, they'll come up to Paramatma realization. We looked at that, and then finally go to Bhakti yoga. When they go to Samadhi stage and then they start focusing, then they can go back to the Bhakti yoga. So Prabhupada says, Sarva Bhuta Stita Huyoma Bhajati Ekatvam Astitau. That is, such a yogi engages in the worshipful service of the super soul, knowing that I and the super soul are one. So this is the state when they finally reach the Samadhi state. That is Ashtanga Yogi. They are engaging the worshipful service of the super soul. That is that I and super soul are one. Okay. That's a pure devotee state, right? So such a yogi turns into a pure devotee and cannot bear to live for a moment without seeing the Lord within himself. So this is what happens to them when they reach that perfection stage. They cannot live for a moment without seeing the Lord within themselves. So that is the thing. Like, they give an example of four Kumaras. What it says is that they just smelt when the priest carrying the aroma of tulsi leaves from the toes of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead entered the nostrils of those sages. They experienced a change both in body and mind. And even though they were attached to the impersonal Brahman understanding, they became attracted to the Lord. So that happens, when they start, they might be even the Paramatma stage, impersonal. But still, the minute they get attracted to the Lord, just getting the aroma of the tulsi leaves, uh, they become pure devotees. So when their minds changed, instead of becoming one with the Supreme Lord, they thought it wise to be devotees. That is, they wanted to be a servitor of the lotus feet of the Lord is better than becoming one with the Lord. That's what happened with the four Kumaras. Okay. So that's what Prabhupada says, that pure devotee, they cannot bear to live for a moment. They want to do serve with the Lord and the Lord. They want to take to devotional service. Okay. Even Sukadev Goswami, he was liberated when he was born itself because he didn't want to come out of the womb of his mother, right? Vyasadeva was worried. And then Krishna came and he said, no, you'll be liberated. So once he came out of the womb, he was there almost for 16 years. Then he just didn't stay a minute in the ashram. He just went off towards the forest because he didn't want to be anywhere in the material world. He wanted to be in a secluded place in the forest. Then Vyasadeva had to send, he sends to two of his pupils, we had written the Bhagavatam and they start reciting the verses, praising, glorifying the Lord. When Sukadev Goswami heard it, he got attracted. So that what happens. Even if they are Paramahamsa, they are so much attracted to the glories of the Lord. That's a name. And then he comes back and then starts reciting the Bhagavatam, starts trying to understand the Bhagavatam from his father. And later he will be reciting it to Parikshit Maharaj. So that's what they say, the Atmarams. They will be self-realized souls, but for them, the minute they get the glories of the Lord and think, they get attracted and they want to serve the Lord. So that is, they take to pure bhakti. Bhakti is nothing but serving the Lord. Okay, it's a devotional service to the Lord. They want to do that without any selfish motives. They want to do just serve the Lord. So that's what such a yogi turns into a pure devotee and cannot bear to live for a moment without seeing the Lord. So when they go from dhyana yoga to elevate themselves to Bhakti Yoga. Okay, when they reach that the other stage. So there are examples there in the scriptures. 4 Kumaras, then the Sukadev Goswami. Okay. So Karma Kanda, when you finalize, you see they rise to this level, Paramatma stage and the Bhakti, right? Then the question will come. Should we go like this? Karma Kanda, then go to this Karma Yoga, then rise to this is what Jnana Yoga, we'll get the Brahman realization, and then come to the level of Dhyana, we'll start meditating on the Lord, Paramatma, then finally get the Paramatma, raise the Samadhi stage, and then slowly raise to the Bhakti Yoga. So this is what we think is been recommended. Yes, of course, by the Lord. Please, this is how the progression is, the stages, right? So should we follow this, or we can straight away go to Bhakti? That is the question. That's what we talk about. Prabhupada talks about Krishna consciousness, where we straight away go to the Bhakti Yoga. Because Bhakti Yoga is the process which has got all the elements of this, right? How is it? So the question will naturally come into our minds, no? How do we understand that coming to Krishna consciousness is, we're starting from the top rung of the ladder, right? That means we are coming to that. Can we start from there? We can start Bhakti Yoga without having performed all the other yoga systems. So that means this is what is the question. Should we go as it has been done, go by step, or we can start from the top list. This is what we are talking about, Krishna consciousness, right? See, let us examine that, see whether we can have those components which Prabhupada writes in the end, that Bhakti Yoga has got all the components of the others. So there's no need to do them. Actually, unless we understand what yoga is, Jnana Yoga is, Dhyana Yoga is, then we'll be able to understand that it is all included in Bhakti, this Krishna consciousness sadhana. Okay. All components are there. What do we see in Karma Yoga? What we see, the most essence of that is we need to be detached from the material life. That's what we talk about, isn't it? That is, you do your duty and just do your duty and don't bother about the results and be detached from the results, isn't it? That is, the purpose is you have to learn detachment. That is, you have to carry on your activities, but do it in such a way that it is just your duty. You don't enjoy the results. Okay, of that. In this way, you become samatva. That's what we said in this verse, no, 2.48. Yogastata kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhyanaja siddhi asiddhya bhutva samatvam yogaja. This is what we said in karma. Perform your duty equipoised, or Arjuna, abandoning all attachment to success or failure. Such equanimity is called yoga. Samatvam yoga yachat. That means you do your duty, but be detached from the fruits of the results, right? That is karma yoga, we said, right? Detachment. So now comes the thing, is it easy to do that? Actually, you have to do your prescribed duties as per your varnashrama dharma, isn't it? First of all, are we doing the karma properly today? That is, like for example, if you take a Kshatriya, today, those days, like even in the Kurukshetra war, we have seen Duryodhana, Bhishmadev, Drona, Karna, they were all on the battlefield, right? They were there, battlefield, and the soldiers were behind them, and they were leading the soldiers. And those days, it was like, the kings will have a wage of war. In fact, they will even personally, they'll combat, and whoever wins, then he will rule the kingdom. And other soldiers from the other parties also will join in this. They will follow this, the one verse one, isn't it? But today the war and it takes place, the soldiers go, the leaders are there somewhere in the bunk and they are only monitoring it. They are not in the battlefield, right? So today that is the Kshatriya. So this is not Kshatriya spirit, right? The way is that standing on the front in the battle, but sometimes just takes to right. But today it is becomes this is not that we are not following the Kshatriya karma where it this for today, right? Whatever the activity, it is not as per what was there in the Vedic, right? So it's very difficult actually to do that. I'll do my duty and I won't enjoy my duty. But what happens in Bhakti? In Bhakti Yoga, we are not talking that detachment from the result is very easy. Why? Because Krishna is the enjoyer. We know that Krishna is the enjoyer, and he is the and the devotee is not thinking of I'll do only this service, give me that service or thing. He just like to serve Krishna, to please Krishna, and he's relying on the reciprocation from Krishna to maintain himself. So he's detached. He's attaching himself to Krishna. So all his activities are all by attaching to the thing. So he's doing is a service, but he's not doing it in the detachment. His attachment is there to the Lord. Because of that, he can interact and he can interact with the material energy in a very participative manner. So he is working with the material energy, but he is participating. He is not trying to come out of it, right? Like in Karma. And in that way, and he is using everything as being a facility to for doing the devotional service. Yukta Vairagya. So that is offered in the Krishna Karma Yoga practice. So what happens if he is a thing? So we are doing the karma, but we are doing the karma not like as a duty. We are working as a service to the Lord. Okay. So that way, part of it, we are doing the karma. When it comes to Jnana Yoga, Jnana Yoga means that essence is with one sustains his transit is knowledge. Being able to, what is the knowledge? The knowledge we are talking is how to distinguish from soul and the body. That is real knowledge, right? We know which is eternal, which is temporary. This material world is temporary. So he is looking at one who reaches the platform of Jnana Yoga, means that is, he is in that that knowledge, he is in that platform of that knowledge. So he is able to distinguish between things which are eternal and things which are temporary. And he wants to avoid because he doesn't want to depend on the temporal things. So he'll be very austerity measures. He'll try to do nothing. So he's based on knowledge. He's seeing things. This is not everything. These are the sense objects. So because of that, I'll get entangled. So he doesn't want to get into such a thing. So he'll be living alone in the forest, eating frugally, practicing tapasya, and avoiding the material world. Wants to be a ministry. Because understanding that this is all illusion. This is what his thinking is. So he wants to live like that. But that is very difficult. Just knowing like that and being in this is not their problem. Okay. Today, everybody has to sustain themselves. They have to maintain that. We deal with. So it's actually it's a Mayavadi philosophy. It's just that they immediately becomes minimized. So then they can't do. So you are living a life of compromised awkwardness. They won't, they don't know what to do. They'll practice certain devotion, but still think. But in Krishna consciousness, the Gyan is very easily cultivated. How? It comes thing because we are practicing Krishna consciousness. It's a byproduct of practicing. One doesn't have to cultivate jnana separately, as is expressed by Sutta Goswami in his first canto, Vasudeva. Okay. Because we know, I think here I have. So here, by rendering devotional service, Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. That is, Bhakti Yoga Prayojita, Janaitya, so Vairagyam, Jnana, both will come, Ayitukam, causelessly, whether it's a byproduct. by doing devotional service to the personal, to the Supreme Lord, we acquire both knowledge and detachment. So it comes with the thing. So he doesn't have to do extra effort in trying to get the knowledge, because it comes as a byproduct. By doing service to the Lord, because of the mercy from the Lord, you get the knowledge and detachment from him. Okay. So here it says, one who is pure duty has all good qualities, namely knowledge, detachment. But one who has only knowledge or detachment is not necessarily well acquainted with the principles of bhakti. So bhakti is the supermost occupation of the human being. Okay? So it is clearly said it does come to us, because he knows everything is Krishna's energies. So he will, devotee sees the material energy as temporary, but he sees it as Krishna's material energy. Okay. In that way, he's able to interact with it. You see, he won't try to detach himself from it. Though it is illusionary, it is temporary, but devotee looks at it as his energy of the Lord. It's an energy of the Lord, right? So if I can use it for his service, let me use it. If it is favorable for the Lord, devotional service, I'll use it. So he knows it, but he looks it from that perspective. So that way, what happens? He is not attaching himself to the thing. He is thinking it is the energy of the Lord. Okay. And he knows the relation. He knows that his relation to him is a servant of the Lord, and it is his duty to serve the Lord. So in that way, he gets that is the knowledge he has. It's actually higher. So because it's much deeper, right? So devotee knows that he's eternal and he's not the body. And in addition, he knows that he is the servant of his eternal occupation is to serve the Lord joyfully with his senses. So in that way, his knowledge is much deeper than the knowledge of the Atma Tattva, who is the Jnana Yogi. Okay. So just by chanting Hare Krishna, devotee doesn't have to deny himself so many things and avoid so many things. So just by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one automatically gets it without any cause. Okay. So then what comes to the Dhyana Yoga? Where what does Dhyana Yoga do? You want to control your senses and the mind, right? But here what we do in the Krishna process, we engage our mind, we engage our senses in the service of the Lord. So when he thinks of the Lord Krishna with his mind, he absorbs his mind in thoughts of relation to Krishna and his name, and hears about Krishna Katha. Then he will hearing the Krishna's name, and in ways he keeps remembering Krishna in the senses or wants to serve Krishna. So it's easy for him to serve Krishna. So in the Bhakti Yoga, what happens? You don't have to put any effort, because you're already engaging your mind and the senses in the service of the Lord. Whereas Dhyana Yoga, you're trying to focus to bring the control on it. That is, whereas it is already involved in the Bhakti Yoga, because he engages senses in service to Krishna, right? Engages in mind in remembrance. So what happens, all the elements of these practices is already incorporated in the Bhakti. So you can straight away go to Krishna consciousness. This is what Prabhupada has really explained in the purport. And this is what the Lord is going to explain in the coming chapters also, how Bhakti Yoga is superior to all the other, right? And also he concludes this chapter with that. So, and if you look at the sadhana practices which the Prabhupada has given, it is easy for us to adapt, and you will be having all these elements of these yoga practices are already incorporated in the sadhana which the Prabhupada has given. That 4 regulating principles, you are regulating yourself, your lifestyle you are regulating, right? From the 4 restrictions that we have. And then the other practices like taking prasadam, then hearing, studying Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and then doing deity worship, then this thing. So what all that is involved is there we are trying to do serving the Lord. Okay. So because we know we are the servant of the Lord. So this is bhakti is nothing but devotional service to the Lord, not worshipping the Lord. We are worshipping means you are being giving respect and we are trying to do this. Not like that. We are devotional service. That means we want to serve the Lord in this thing in any way we can. Okay. So this is where it says that it has all the components in the yoga system. So Prabhupada says, actually Bhakti Yoga is the ultimate goal, but to analyze Bhakti Yoga minutely, one has to understand these other yugas. Okay, it's a direct process. So if somebody says, why shall I take advantage of this elevator? I shall go step by step. He can go, but there is a chance here. If you take this Bhakti Yoga immediately, you take the help of the elevator and within a second, you're on the 100th direct process. That's what he's saying. This is a excerpt from this glossary. So I understood that. So there, this is how you can analyze how the components, whatever we are talking about in these other practices, it's already incorporated in the Bhakti Yoga. Okay, that is by Manmana. So what does the Lord conclude? He says, Yoginam api sarvesha mad gatena ratmana Shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yuktatma mata. He said the best yogi is who? For all the yogis, the one with great faith, Shraddha, and who abides in me, that is bhajati, or and thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me. He is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is highest. So he is only talking about united with me and doing loving service to me. Okay, that is the one who is the best yogi of the Lord, right? So if one is fortunate enough to come to the point of Bhakti Yoga, it is to understand that he has surpassed all the other yogas. Therefore, to become Krishna conscious is the highest state of yoga. Okay. So for last link in the yogic chain, the link that binds us to the Supreme Lord. Without this final link, the chain is practically useless. So let us see what we have come to the end of it. Right? Finally, the Lord says Bhakti Yoga is the best. And this is anyone who preaches the gospel of Bhagavad Gita to the people of the world is the most dear, the dearest person. So therefore, our duty is to preach the principles of this Bhagavad Gita to make people Krishna consciousness. People are suffering for want of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, each and every one of us should be engaged in the preaching of Krishna consciousness for the benefit of the world. Okay. So let us, I think this is the Prabhupada ki jai.